So, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Sam from TeamSamuraiX1 here. And today I'm with Joshua.
Yeah.
Josh, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm fine. I just got top 16 with the Danger FTK.
Danger FTK, so with Firewall being banned and like everything.
Yeah, they solved it, right?
So, what's this new Danger FTK? Like what is this? Explain.
It's slash draw.
Slash draw, okay, slash draw FTK. So what does this card do?
Discard one card from your hand, send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, and then draw one card.
Right.
And if the card you draw is another slash draw, you destroy the entire board, and your opponent takes 2,000 damage for every card that you destroyed.
Right.
So what you do is you use like all 3 Saryujas, sometimes more, because you can recycle them, to draw through your entire deck and put the slash draws to the bottom so that you know where it is. So you basically follow the bottom and until you know that it's the second next card, and you give your opponent a monster, which is Grinder Golem. I'll show you in a second. And then you activate this, discard a card, doesn't matter. You mill one, which is Furman in this case. And then the next one is slash draw, and then you blow up the entire board, and your opponent dies.
And then like for each card that it blows up, your opponent loses 2,000, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, awesome. And in your opinion, question, how consistent was this deck?
I'd say without hand traps, it probably hits over 90% going first. But I think the most unfair thing about Dangers is that the deck is just so good going second as well. It was the same thing in London. Like this time, there's 11 rounds of Swiss and I only won 3 dice rolls. And I still went 9-1-1 and I won most of my game ones. Even when my opponent would start, I would just be, yeah, my deck's 20 Dangers, I'll just have 6 cards, which is better chances on every single reveal. Because if you have a Dogman in hand when you go first, it's a 20% chance of hitting itself.
Right.
But when you go second, it's only 1 out of 6. And that's the same for every single Danger, because you have 1 more card in hand for every single Danger.
Right.
So the deck is still very unfair going second, which is what makes it so good overall. Because
right.
like, yeah. Okay. But the FTK is still, when you go first, it's very consistent. And I even like in top 16 game 1, I FTK'd him through Ashen Impermanence. Like the deck's just crazy. So the first thing that came to my mind was like, okay, they didn't touch Sky Striker, Altergeist, and Thunder Dragon, but I don't really like that kind of triangle meta, because like, I don't like Thunder Dragon and Altergeist. The only deck that would have been left to play is Sky Striker, but I really don't like the Sky Striker mirror match that much anymore. With like, it gets to time way too often, and you get like destroyed by Hayate Eagle Booster, and right. Your opponent doesn't have to be better to just have Hayate Eagle Booster. And, right. You know. So I was playing around with Dangers a lot, just because I was aware that you can still draw your entire deck. I was just not sure what to make out of it. I was like trying extra link boards, I was trying the Gumlar opponents for 4, stuff like that, and then I was talking to Bowden about it, and he mentioned the slash draw to me, so I was like, yeah, that sounds nice. So I talked to him about different things. He told it to me a little differently than what I ended up doing, because he said we should use the Sylvan guy, Aurea, which is a rank 7 that you have to send a plant monster to the grave from your field or hand, and you can arrange the top cards of your deck equal to its level. Right. So what we would do in that build was we try to make Riprodocus on Bigfoot to turn it into a plant, and then we summon the Aurea guy with 2 level 7s, and we send the Bigfoot so we can look at the next 8 cards. And so we can just put the slash draw wherever we want it to be, and then just activate another slash draw from hand, which is the build I initially tried. But then while playing it, I realized that most of the time I didn't even need to do that, because I would just draw my entire deck anyways. So I would know where the slash draw is already with the Saryujas. Right. So I ended up cutting that from the extra deck, but still Bowden is the one who basically worked on this deck with me.
Okay, awesome. So without further ado, start with deck roll.
Okay, so for the Dangers, you still play like a load of them. So 3 Nessie, 3 Dogman, 3 Mothman, 3 Chupacabra, 3 Jackalope, 3 Tsuchinoko. Those are basically the good ones. This one is not really good because it doesn't have a discard effect, but it's level 7 to make Tomahawk, so it's still technically a good one. And then you play 1 Bigfoot and 1 Thunderbird. This is 20. This is the same ratio that I played at YCS London in the Firewall deck. I just think that's a good amount of Dangers to play. Like, you obviously play all of these at 3s. The question is only how many do you play of these. And I think if you had like other cards to cut, I guess you could play more, but I'm happy with the other cards that I played. So I wouldn't go over 40 just to play more of these. So I think that's the right amount of Dangers right now.
Okay, sure. Nice.
I played 3 Brow, just because it's the best discard. Basically, just if you hit Brow with a Danger, you just basically drew 2 cards and got a free monster on the board. There's no snow anymore because we don't need Grapha anymore for the Cannon Soldier loop. The problem with snow is if you discard it with a danger, it's technically really good, but you're not drawing a new card, you're only getting a brow. So you have to hit the snow, which searches another card that you have to hit. So it's a lot of RNG involved because you're not getting an actual card of it. You only get something from it if you discard this one. So only this. One beast. It's basically another brow in hand, but when you don't draw it, you can Curious it to just gain more cards in hand to improve your chances on the dangers. One Zephyros. There's no Armageddonite in this deck, but it's still a really good card. If you discard it with a danger, you can just bounce the best danger on your board back to your hand. You get a level 4 to make Azatha. It's a winged beast with Summon Sorceress. You can summon Steam, which is another card I played. It's a very good special summon off of Saryuja. It's a good mill with Curious. It just creates tokens to make Saryuja, basically. And the token effect is not once per turn, so you can like summon it with Saryuja, bounce it back to hand with Zephyros, you get a token, because it's only when it leaves the field. Then you can summon it back later. That will give you another token if you link away with it. And then you can tribute a monster to summon it, gives you another token when you link with it, so it's just like a lot of Saryujas. And then I played one Frankenderp, which is a card that Furman told me about on Friday. It's just like a very neat addition to the deck together with Teleport. Basically this is a dark that says when it's summoned you can pay 500 life points to look at the top card of your deck, and then you decide if you want it in your hand or on the bottom of your deck. You're obviously always going to add it to your hand. So you can basically just off of Saryuja or Soul Charge or Teleport, you can just summon a monster that draws you a card. So it's just a free name on the board, and it's a dark, so it's really nice. And drawing it has not really been an issue, because you would either discard it with a danger and then Soul Charge it later, or you would put it back in the deck with Saryuja. Or you would just summon it with Saryuja.
And this card also skips your next draw phase, right?
Yeah, but there's no next draw phase.
Okay.
There's no next draw phase with this deck. And then the last monster is Grinder Golem, which is very important in this deck. We're never normal summoning unless you brick really, really hard. You draw this card eventually, you give it to your opponent, you can do nice things with it, like you get a lot of monsters out of it to do Saryuja, but most importantly you give them a card for Slash Draw. Because the way Slash Draw is worded, it only works if your opponent controls a card. You cannot mill 0, so you can't like have Slash Draw on the top and then just activate Slash Draw to mill Slash Draw. That doesn't work. They have to have one card. So this is the card that I give to them. The only way that this does not work is if I have to normal summon, which is very rare, or if I mill it with Curious. If that happens, that's why there's Summon Sorceress in my extra deck. If I mill this card with Curious, I have to give them a card with Summon Sorceress. That's the other way of doing it.
So you always gotta give them a card?
Yes, you give them this, or you give them something with Summon Sorceress, so they have one card on the board.
So going second, it makes it so much easier because they already have cards, so you blow up.
Technically, you don't have to worry about it, but you're still going to draw this card eventually, and it's still amazing because you can just Sky Striker too. You just give it to them; they can't use their Voodoo Anchors anymore. Like, it's very good.
Okay.
And then you'll bounce it with a Kashik, and then you stuff shenanigans. 3 beginning or the end. This card is good.
So beginning.
Yeah. 3 beginning. Yeah. You play how many darks?
So many. The whole deck.
28, and then a bunch of cards in the extra deck are dark. So like, you use all 3 of this frequently. It's just and 3 Allure to turbo through your deck. So basically, with the 3 beginnings and the 3 Allure, you already take 15 cards out of your deck. The 3 Saryujas do 12, so you're almost there. Couple of danger draws, couple of brows draw, card destruction, and Soul Charge. It's just a very smooth 40 cards. It's very good.
There's nothing that you would change?
No.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's basically it for the combo and the main deck. The extra deck is most importantly 3 Skull Dreads. Like I said, I've summoned all 3 almost every game. I've even summoned more than 3 at some point because I bounced it back with like a Kashik or Unicorn just to get that last draw in to put the Slash Draw where it needed to be. But like also mid combo is just so good to see to filter your hand, to put the bad ones away, get to beginning or the end, refill your hands. So good. So yeah, definitely triple Saryuja. Summon Sorceress. I'm not using her second effect very often, the one where you get something from the deck, just because it's not that easy to make with 3 of the same types, because all of the dangers are different. But you definitely need this in your extra deck because it's like I said, it's the backup plan to give your opponent a monster if you mill the Grinder Golem.
And also, if you special something from the deck, like you also don't want to mess up the order, right?
Sometimes yes. If it's very late in the game, sometimes you don't want to arrange your deck anymore. Like you try to use Nessie and Jackalope very early, because those are the only ones that arrange your deck.
Right.
Together with the Curious. So that's what you try to do early in the game, and then later you just Saruja.
Right.
So yeah, Curious. This card is very important. It's not only because it draws another card with Beast, but because it mills 3, so it gets you 4 cards closer to the end of your deck, basically. So that's very nice. And then another card that's really important is the Griffin. So the Griffin is very special in this deck because I played 3 Slash Draw. The reason I'm playing 3, because technically the combo only needs 2, right? You only need 1 in the deck, 1 in hand. The reason I play 3 is because I want to be able to keep it in my hand when I draw it, because I don't want to start my turn with setting it, so I only have 4 cards in hand, which is like bad for my danger chances. So I want to be able to have it in my hand, and if I discard it, it's not a problem because I have 2 more. But if I discard 1 Slash Draw and I make Curious, I risk losing the game if I mill another Slash Draw, because then I don't have a way to hit Slash Draw with the last Slash Draw. So what I do in that case is I summon Griffin, discard a danger, which will trigger, bring back the Slash Draw from the grave. So you cannot activate it if you set it with Griffin, but you can spin it back to your deck with Unicorn.
Okay, nice.
So that's what you do, and it sounds harder than it actually is. It's not. Once this deck gets going, it has infinite monsters on the board, infinite cards in hand, so you can easily do that. I've done it a couple of times where I milled the Slash Draw, or I even opened 2 and like discarded both with dangers, and then late game I just did that where I
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Nice.
So this is definitely a nice backup plan. That's very important. And the Phoenix gives you some link utility, but also mainly going second, just co-linking it, drawing a card, destroying a back row, and then triggering the danger effect. It's just very nice. And then one of my favorite cards in the extra deck is Akashic Magician. Akashic Magician is basically for the Grinder Golem combo. There's 2 more cards involved. You make the Link Spider Link. These 2 are both Cybers, so you can make Akashic Magician. And you obviously put the Grinder Golem next to the extra monster zone, and then you can also have a danger monster here, so it acts like Zephyros. It gives you back the danger, and it gives you back the Grinder Golem. So you give them the Grinder Golem again, you get 2 tokens again. You can bring back Link Reaper from the grave, so that's already 3 different names. But even more importantly, if you use these 2, like the token and this and 2 other monsters to make Saruja here, you get to draw 4, and then you use this effect. The co-link effect is you declare a card name, and then you excavate from the top of your deck up the number of link rating of the card that this card is calling to, so 4 cards. So I can just have like 20 cards left in my deck, and I can just call beginning of the end, and if it's in my next 4 cards, I get it.
So if you mill like 2 beginnings, you add both of them?
You get both of them to your hand, yeah. So like the chances of hitting with this are actually very high, because like you go through your deck a lot, so you can just check how many, what kind of 3-offs do I have left in my deck. Like in the last round of Swiss on the bubble, I was like, okay, I have like 20 cards left in my deck, and I haven't seen a Nessie yet, so I just called Nessie, and like the chances that you hit a Nessie out of 4 cards in 20 is very high, so I got a Nessie from it. I've also gotten beginning from it, so like that's just very nice. It's just a bonus, because you use it to bounce Grinder Golem, but that's just a bonus. That's really nice. And then Space Insulator for link utility, just because it's a dark, you can make it out of tokens. It's good. Tomahawk, obviously, I don't really have to explain this. And these guys. This rounds it up, so you can be sure against hand. If you didn't play these cards, your opponent could technically just hold Ash until the end of the turn for the Slash Draw, and because Slash Draw is once per turn, if they Ash it, it's done basically, so you need this. And if you get like lucky on the danger reveals early, you can just make it before they can even like Ash you, so it's very nice. The extra deck I think is perfect. I don't think I would change anything. The only card I would miss sometimes is a second Link Spider. But I don't think I would play it. I don't think you can cut anything else. Yeah. But the reason why I think a second Link Spider would be good is because if you give them Grinder Golem, you use these 2 cards very early, and the Link Reaper can come back, it's no problem. But if you make Tomahawk later, you really want to turn 1 token into another Link Spider to have another name for the Saruja. Otherwise you just get 4 or 5 tokens and they're all the same name. So a second Link Spider would be nice. It's not mandatory. I guess maybe you can cut the Space Insulator, but I like it because it's a dark. So yeah, otherwise the extra deck is just very, very good.
Let's go to the side deck real quick.
Yep. The side deck is like in dangers generally. You cannot side that many cards because you will ruin your engine. you have to keep your engine intact. So I'm just siding like 1 to 6 cards maximum for every matchup. 3 Pankratops, this card is amazing for every matchup almost, because like I side this against Altergeist, Trickstar, sometimes Sky Striker, all kinds of decks, everything, like even Thunder Dragon, because they might side like Floodgates. You can just side this card, and if they don't have a Floodgate, it will still be a name for Saruja or a 7 for Tomahawk. So that's really cool. I played 3 Ash because I thought it was a very good hand trap in general. I didn't want to play Droll because I felt like this deck was not so popular. I think like 20 people played it maybe, so I didn't want to main deck a card just for the mirror match, because Droll is basically not good in any other matchup other than Danger. So I put Ash because this is good against this deck, but it's also very good against any deck that makes Ice Ult. So I put this in. It also came in very handy. I actually beat Trickstar with this deck, which is very hard because Reincarnation and Lockbird are in their deck and they disrupt you a lot. But I was able to Ash on his Reincarnation to keep my hand, which was really nice. 3 Cherries. These are ironically very good in the mirror because you can just Cherry Saruja and the deck literally just dies to it. You cannot win without Saruja basically. So that was nice, but I also played Ice Ult for it, so like I said, not only for the mirror but also for every Rongo deck kind of, you know, these kind of things. So those were the only hand traps I played. I played 2 Radion. Basically, if it was close to time against Striker, I would side these, just because I could summon them and just attack. If it was not close to time, I would summon these. I would side these and not these, just because it's a dark, it's a level 7, so if you draw both, you still get a level 7. But you basically turn off all their anchors, that's what it's for. You just tribute the Link, even if they have Eagle Booster, you just give it to them. They can't use anchor, and you either kill them with Slash Draw, or you go for like Phoenix on the back row, Unicorn on the back row, and then you remove this with Bigfoot or something else, and just run, get in for game. 1 Sphere mode. I feel like this was nice to have against Thunder Dragon, but like I don't have a problem with Colossus and Titan. That's why I don't play 3. But it's still nice because, like I said, we're not normal summoning because we have Grinder Golem in our deck. So if we don't like, you can side out the Grinder Golem and put this in, and if you draw it at any point in the combo, you can distribute all their monsters, and it's so much easier to do. But there's no need to put multiples because this will ruin your draws if you play multiples. I played 1 Pot of Acquisitiveness because I was a little scared of people siding in Cherries against me if they just had randomly Saruja in their extra deck. I would just put in 1 card, and because I'm drawing so much, I have a very high chance of seeing this at some point, and then I will just bounce back all 3 Sarujas into my extra deck.
Just draw 1 for free.
And draw 1, yeah, basically Upstart Goblin plus recycle all my Sarujas, and if they don't have Cherries, it's still a fine card. I'm playing Allure and Beginning, so I would just banish like Link Kuribo and Space Installator Akashic, or like Unicorn to just refill my extra deck a little bit, or Summon Sorcerers, I don't know if I used it maybe, or some of the dangers that I still haven't used. Like if there's Nessie in my graveyard but I haven't used Nessie yet for some reason, like maybe you mill it with Curious, you can bring it back in. You can also, ironically, you can bring back Grinder Golem to your deck if you mill it with Curious. You can banish it with Beginning and then put it back into the deck. So I felt like even if they didn't have Cherries, this was like a nice one-off to have that chance to beat Cherries. And then this was 14. I was happy with 14. I was like, what am I gonna put in? I put in 1 Twin Twister, just like random. So I just had more outs against Floodgates. I was thinking about Red Reboot, but I felt like this was better because I can discard Dangers with it. Because with Red Reboot, you have to risk discarding it because you will start by revealing Dangers. And then if you discard your Red Reboot, you're just very sad. So I put the Twin Twister. Yeah.
That's awesome. Josh, thank you so much for this deck profile. Yep. Do you have anything else you want to say about this deck?
Not really about this deck. I feel like it's still very unfair. The Firewall ban obviously was not enough, but like no sooner than January, I guess. Okay. I hope they do something about it. But yeah, other than that, I want to give a shout out to everyone who's borrowed me cards for this event. Everyone who's helped me make the deck, mainly Bowden and Furman. And of course, as always, shout out to the team, shout out to Erkin, and shout out to my girlfriend for supporting me from home. Yep.
Alright, Josh, thank you so much for the deck, bro, man. This is Sam from TeamSamuraiX1 signing out. Alright, guys. Peace.
I feel like Usain in the cheetah print. Talk fresh game, I don't need a minute. R.I.P. the game, I need a minute. Okay, let's proceed with it. I'm in the house, got the deed with it. These bozos always sneak this and they taking shots. I'm a key with it. Like, no, this league business.